Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Urban Review. This show is sponsored by the Office of National Drug Control Policy, and therefore the thoughts and opinions expressed on this show are not necessarily those of the Office of National Drug Control Policy, the CDC, or the White House. We want to thank you for watching our wonderful show, and we're happy to be here. As you can see, we got a new look today. We've got our No Shave November going, so we've got a little wisdom. And boy, that thing is sure coming in kind of gray, but I guess that indicates how wise I am. And then also, rather than wearing a sports coat today, I have on my Omega Psi Phi fraternity sweater, inasmuch as today is the 17th of November, and 111 years ago today, four young men created the Omega Psi Phi fraternity at Thurkill Hall, the old science building at Howard University at around 9 o'clock p.m. And it was a rainy and cloudy day, just like we have here in Detroit today. So it's very reminiscent of the founding, and we give recognition and love to Cooper, Coleman, Love, and Just, who are the four men that founded what has today become a multi-million-dollar international corporation that has chapters all over the world and boasts a membership of over 50,000 members. And we are very, very, very pleased to be able to serve the community and go out and do the type of things that would live up to the creed of our cardinal principles of manhood, scholarship, perseverance, and uplift. And as you know, those four cardinal principles are very, very similar to the characteristics that we teach our young people with our Center for Urban Youth and Family Development program, where we believe that character plus education plus perseverance plus uplift times friendship, love, and truth will yield you the three things that everybody is looking for in life, and that's peace, happiness, and prosperity. Now, as we move on into the essence of our show today, over the last couple of months, we've focused on a very, very serious issue that we're facing across America and also here in Wayne County and right here in Detroit, and that is suicide, and in particular, the suicide rate of African American males, knowing that it has increased by nearly 70% over the last 5 years, and that our young people are exercising the option to complete a suicide at 2 times the rate of their counterparts. And so we addressed some of the risk factors, we looked at some of the warning signs, and we identified some opportunities for help. And we remember that we pointed out that the national hotline, if you are needing help, if you know someone that is in need of assistance, 988. And that is the national hotline for suicide. And now we're going to address another very serious issue and one of the ills of our community, and that is human trafficking. Were you aware that Michigan is ranked in the top 10 states for human trafficking? The National Human Trafficking Hotline said that there are 295 cases that were reported in the state last year. Wednesday, survivors and advocates told lawmakers, Wednesday, advocates and survivors told lawmakers that they want to see more done to stop it. A young lady by the name of Rita O'Brien testified that she just wanted to survive. She had been raped and sexually abused from the age of 3 to 13. She was sexually attacked at knife point by her own father and other men that were part of a secret society cult at their church. And because it started happening to her in her life at such an early age, it became normalized. She thought it was normal. It was like setting on a dryer that no longer existed. But now she's old enough and she understands, and she wants lawmakers to do more to protect others who might find themselves in a similar situation. For a more in-depth look and view of human trafficking in the United States, we must look no further than the suburbs of Detroit. There's the true story of Miss Teresa Flores, the slave across the street. And in her story, she outlines experiences as a sex slave in the United States here of America. Teresa belonged to an average, upper middle class family. She lived comfortably in her home in Birmingham, Michigan, with her mom and dad and two younger brothers. Her father moved a lot because of his job, and none of the family members expected to stay in Birmingham for long. And Teresa became intrigued by the large Arabic population in her neighborhood and school. She was intrigued in particular by a young boy named Daniel, and we note that his name was changed to keep his identity revealed, but this young man was a Chaldean, and that means that he was a Catholic Arab. He occasionally attended her church, but more often was the females in his family that attended, so she knew his entire family. And he expressed interest in her and coerced her into going to his house, where he later raped her. Following her traumatic experience, Daniel informed her that his cousins were home at the time and had taken pictures of them having sex. His cousins threatened to show her parents, the school, her acquaintances at church, all of these condemning images if she didn't do as they said. And not only did they threaten to show the images, but they threatened to kill her family. Now, Teresa felt that she had no other choice, and so she began taking calls in the middle of the night, sneaking out of her house and being whisked off to rich neighborhoods where she was used for sex slave. Teresa never saw any of the money her torture earned, and those cousins claimed all the income. And despite coming from a good, stable house in an unassuming suburban neighborhood, Teresa was trafficked right here in the United States of America, in the state of Michigan, in the county of Wayne, in the suburb of Detroit, in the city of Birmingham. Now, at a recent talk that Teresa Flores was the speaker, she outlined the reasons why Michigan is one of the most dangerous states for human trafficking. First of all, we should recognize that Michigan is the 5th highest rate state in which human trafficking occurs. The 5th highest rated. Why? Michigan has several factors that makes it more susceptible to trafficking. For one, Michigan is connected to an international border, which is Canada. Other reasons include the fact that we have many highways, which make travel in and out of the state quick and discreet. I-75, I-96, I-94, all major highways that connect to other states. A lot of local trafficking occurs at truck stops, on highways in which runaway children are picked up, and cities in which the most trafficking class comes from include Detroit, Grand Rapids, Ann Arbor, Kalamazoo, Lansing, and, believe it or not, Mackinac Island. This information was taken from the National Human Trafficking Resource Center and reported by the Polaris Project. So I'm not just making this up. I'm not just speculating. These are true facts, evidence, and data that was collected. Another alarming fact is that the internet enables traffickers to be so successful. Simply type in Backpage.com in your internet browser and you will be taken to a site similar to Craigslist. But unlike Craigslist, though you will find categories such as escorts, body rubs, strippers, and strip clubs, domination and fetish, male escorts, and adult jobs. Listings are not exclusive to cities. In fact, listings can come from your own town. One can simply put in Detroit as your location and find listings from a wide radius around the area. The same for Grand Rapids, the same for Lansing, the same for Ann Arbor, the same for Kalamazoo, the same for Mackinac Island. And under adult jobs, you will find listings for seeking ladies, escorting, dancing and modeling, make money, and travel to great destinations. Now, this is extremely alarming because these are the very things that traffickers say to induce their victims, to entice those young people that are looking to get away from home, to escape from their parents, escape from the trials and burdens of being an isolated individual at school, to escape from bullying. They would look at this and look at this as a viable opportunity. The Michigan State Police also gave a talk following Teresa Flores, stating that these sites are where the traffickers check for victims. One way to identify a trafficked victim who is soliciting against their will is if they do not show their face in the pictures. Typically, when a face is not shown, it can mean that the individual is underage or under duress. So therefore, the images could be considered child pornography. Now, that might lead an individual to ask, so what are we doing about this? Well, currently there are about 20 bills that are going through the Michigan's state legislature. And all of the many of the bills were signed into law during the Snyder administration, and of course Governor Whitmer has completed the process, making Michigan one of the leaders in anti-human trafficking laws in the United States of America. Now, these laws include protecting victims from prostitution charges, and it is therefore provides a presumption of innocence for minors accused of prostitution, and there are opportunities for victims to expunge previous convictions and seek counseling and medical care. It also makes it easier for people to charge traffickers, and it will strengthen penalties for traffickers, and they will be placed on the sex offender registry. One bill was accurately named after Teresa Flores as the Teresa Flores Act in honor of Ms. Flores, who inspired Senator Judy Edmonds to work so hard against human trafficking in Michigan. This bill is involved in Michigan's statute of limitations. What this means is you have 6 years after being trafficked to press charges against those who have trafficked you. And what the Flores Act states is that there are many who are trafficked, and it can take up to 20 or more years to even come to terms with what has happened to your body and your psyche. And because of this, many of the victims do not press charges against their traffickers in the time frame of the normal statute of limitations. And now there is an extension on the statute of limitations to 25 years, letting trafficking victims have longer to access to pressing charges against their traffickers. This bill also permanently establishes a human trafficking commission within the Attorney General's office, and this information was pulled together by a group of students at Ferris State University, and I want to thank them for doing their research. Ms. Nicole Altman led the initiative, and we want to thank Nicole for all of her research and hard work. So obviously we have a very serious issue here, and we are trying to make you aware, make you cognizant, and when we come back from our break from our sponsors, we're going to just spend a little bit of time talking about some of the common myths that surround sexual assault. So please stay tuned, and we'll be right back after a word from our sponsors. Thank you for watching Urban Review.
You will love your Avis Ford, because at Avis Ford, we make it easy to get you your no money down monthly payment right over the phone. We call it Shop by Phone, and it's the best way we know to get you your payment options fast. You want leather and a sunroof? How about an upgrade to all-wheel drive? Just give us a call. Shop online, shop by phone, or visit us at Telegraph at 12 Mile. Call 1-800-SHOP-FORD.
Meet Danny, high school senior, 17 years of age, all-A student. Danny is just now finding out he scored 1,490 out of 1,600 on his SAT. Danny's friend decided to ask, "How did you do it?" Danny replied, "I believe every day is a test. To fail or succeed, you choose." The effects of vaping is the one test that Danny chose not to study for.
Vaping does not discriminate on who becomes addicted. Over 2 million high school students use some type of electronic cigarette device. The top tobacco companies also own vaping devices. The FDA found that vaping contains some of the same toxic chemicals as regular cigarettes that lead to cancer. So whether you smoke traditional cigarettes with tobacco or smoke electronic cigarettes using nicotine, your health is at risk. There's no safe way to smoke. For more information, contact the Center for Urban Youth and Family Development.
The non-medical use of prescription drugs, including opioids, is a growing concern in our communities, affecting all ages, including our youth. If the medication wasn't prescribed to you or has expired, don't take it. If your name isn't on the bottle, it's not meant for you to swallow. Addiction is real, and lives are being ruined. Or worse yet, lost.
Visit preventiondetroit.org/opioids to find prescription Dropbox locations.
The Center for Urban Youth and Family Development is a nonprofit organization that focuses on preventing personal problems we believe are facilitated by being raised in a foster care environment, or remediating potential problems through education and information to the community. Our programs focus on 3 key areas: youth aging out of foster care, community action, and healthcare. Our programs are focused on young adults in the foster care system who are about to age out, those that have just aged out, and the community at large. The Center for Urban Youth and Family Development hosts a variety of services focusing on the needs of foster care youth throughout the community. We also work with numerous community coalitions in our effort to provide the best services for our clients and to help build stronger communities. We believe that a healthy mind and body are cornerstones to a healthy and prosperous community. The Center also engages our community in mental health and wellness advocacy, as well as suicide prevention. Fostered youth emerge from the foster care system vulnerable to substance abuse, with little opportunity to obtain higher education or develop life skills. The Center for Urban Youth and Family Development empowers youth that are in and transitioning out of the foster care system to overcome the struggles and challenges by providing them substance abuse prevention, life skills training, and workforce development programs. Drawing from the life experiences of our founder, Mr. Marcel Arbuckle, we open the door to positive and productive life through education, health, and life skills development. For more information, you can visit our website at cuyfddetroit.org or check out our social media at cuyfddetroit.
Welcome back. As you know, we are touching on a very serious subject today, and that is human trafficking and sexual assault. And one of the things we want to talk about right now are some of the common myths that surround sexual assault. One myth is that rape is all about sex. The perpetrator just wants to satisfy his or her sexual desire. But the fact is, rape is a crime of power, control, and dominance, and it's not about sexual desire. A myth that it's not rape if you're dating, married, or have engaged in sexual relations with that individual before. The fact, unwanted sexual activity in any relationship qualifies as sexual assault. A myth, most victims are raped by strangers in unfamiliar, dark places. But the fact is, the majority of rapes are committed by a person known to the victim. A neighbor, a friend, a co-worker, an ex-partner, a spouse, etc. A myth, you can tell if someone is a rapist just by looking at him or her. But the fact is, most rapists are average looking. They can be friends, co-workers, family members, etc. Another myth is that rapists have mental problems or are just downright crazy. But the fact is, most rapists are males with no history of mental disorder. Rapists generally make a plan of how they're going to rape their victims, so they're not just crazy. A myth is that only young women are at risk. But the fact is, women of all ages are at risk, and 1 in 4 women will be assaulted in the course of her lifetime. And remember, men can also be raped. In fact, the myth, if the victim didn't fight, try to run away, or if there was no weapon or injury sustained, rape did not occur. The fact that threats of violence are a weapon, the victim may not resist vigorously for fear of injury or death, and also date rape, drugs, or coercion may incapacitate the victim, forcing his or her involuntary cooperation. Another myth, only women are sexually assaulted or raped, and only by men. But the fact is, men, women, and children can be sexually assaulted or raped. The perpetrator can be a male or a female with any sexual orientation. Another myth is that most men who are raped are gay or bisexual. But the fact is, male sexual assault has nothing to do with the sexual orientation of the attacker or the victim. Just as rape does not make the victim gay, bisexual, or heterosexual. It is a violent crime that affects heterosexual men just as much as gay men. Another myth, the victim asked for it by being drunk, alone, careless, or seductively dressed. The fact is, no one deserves to be raped, violated, abused, or humiliated. No one, under any circumstances, under any condition. If you need some support, if you need some assistance, you can contact the Detroit Police Victims Assistance Program. Their number is 313-833-1660. Once again, that's 313-833-1660, and that is the Detroit Police Victims Assistance Program. So I want you to know that our legislators are working on this. We have quotes. I would love Michigan to be the state that traffickers run from. Let's make it mandatory to have law enforcement trained and to have age-appropriate human trafficking in every school, home, private school, Catholic school, whatever. education everywhere. There's a great program at the YMCA in Kalamazoo. They help to stabilize lives and to prioritize where to start and regain a sense of security. Jessica Glenn, who is the director of the YWCA in Kalamazoo, also is the director of law and public policy, and she asked lawmakers during a hearing recently to expand and look at all types of trafficking, not just traffickers for sex, because we know that migrant workers that involve labor trafficking often occurs, and those type of incidents often never see the light of day. They're not investigated. They're not prosecuted. So we are happy to know that the Michigan State Police is showing drivers, especially truck drivers, the signs of human trafficking and working with our community so that when we see it and we can spot it, we can report it. So I ask all of you to be aware, to be alert, and to report any type of issues that you see. So we're going to wrap up our show, and once again, we want to give a shout out to the men of Omega Psi Phi fraternity as they celebrate their 111th Founders Day, November the 17th, 1911, 9 o'clock p.m., Third Kill Hall, the old science building at Howard University. And as we remember the poem that Nelson Mandela said to himself every day for 27 years during his incarceration, out of the night that comforts me, black as a pit from pole to pole, I thank whatever gods there be for my unconquerable soul. In the fell clutch of circumstance, I have not winced nor cried aloud, and under the bludgeoning of chance, my head is bloody, but unbowed. Beyond this place of wrath and tears looms but the horror of the shading, yet the menace of the years finds and shall find me unafraid, for it matters not how straight the gate, how charged with punishment the scroll. I am the captain of my fate and the master of my soul. And remember, when you're up against some trouble, meet it squarely face to face. Plant your feet, set your shoulders, lift your chin, and take a brace. And if the worst is bound to happen, in spite of all that you can do, you may fail, but you may conquer. See it through. Black may be the clouds about you, and your future may seem grim, but don't let your nerve desert you. Keep yourself in fighting trim. And if it's veiled to try and dodge it, in spite of all that you can do, remember, running from it will not save you. See it through. For even hope may seem but futile when with troubles you'll be set. But remember, you're simply facing what other men have met. So if you fail, fall still fighting. Don't give up whatever you do. Keep your eyes to the front, your head high to the finish, and see it through. Thank you for watching Urban Review.